Hello, everyone, and welcome. Happy Sunday afternoon to all of you. It is a pleasure to be here with you for a quick update from the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute at Fresno State. Go Bulldogs! And on a Sunday of a 3-day weekend, tomorrow is Labor Day across the United States, and to all who live in the U.S. Have a wonderful Labor Day. Hopefully, it is a holiday for you, and hopefully, you can enjoy the day with some relaxation. We're going to spend just a little bit of time with a couple of new projects that some of you might have seen through the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute. That's PBBI from Fresno State. And so, allow me to share my screen and to show you one of these projects, and also to talk to you a little bit about all of the projects that we have at PBBI from Bruma Publications. So here, about almost 2 years ago now, we launched Bruma Publications. We had an event to launch the idea. It took us a year, of course, to get everything organized at the university and also to get the books. And our first book was actually published in September of 2022, just about a year ago. Yeah, at the end of September of 2022, and you can get that book online, and I'll show you just a little bit about that in just a second or two. But we have since then, of course, published two other books in collaboration with Letras Lavadas, and a third one is a fourth total book, which is the anthology Into the Azorian Sea. And here in about less than 30 days, actually in about 3 weeks, we'll have what will be our fifth book in 1 year, and that is a book about the history of the Azores, which we'll talk about that also at future events of PBBI. I wanted to share with you real quick what we are doing on a daily basis through PBBI and, of course, our Bruma Publications, and that is Novidades, the islands and the diaspora. And basically, it is a newsletter site. So you can go, as you can probably see on top of my website here, you can go directly to novidadesnewsletter.news. Again, that's novidadesnewsletter.news. And you'll be able to see the various news items that we have, mostly on a daily basis. So we try to put one or two per day, not more than that. We may skip a day because of one reason here or there. We don't have a firm commitment to be a daily news service, but it is a way for those who are of Portuguese background, especially those who have roots in the Azores, as the majority of the 350,000 people who identify of being of Portuguese background in California do have at least 90% roots in the archipelago of the Azores. Some of them with their parents, some their grandparents, some their great grandparents, and even great great grandparents. We have many folks who are proud to be of Azorian ancestry here in California, and they are now third and fourth generations. So, as you can see, we have everything from op-ed pieces, as this one here from Tom Barcelos. It's a wonderful piece, well written on the water issue here in the central San Joaquin Valley, to things from the Azores, such as seaweed harvesting on Graciosa Island, the 44 years of the Portuguese Tribune, now commonly known as Tribuna Portuguesa, a wonderful story about four young Portuguese Americans with roots in the Azores who are on a cohort of dairy leaders here throughout the state. New measures to tackle poverty on social exclusion, I should say, in the Azores. Expansion in the works for the Praia de Vitoria port on Terceira Island. Azores Airlines with a positive result, so a profit of 2 million euros, which is good news for them, not for those of us who pay the price, but obviously good news for them when it comes to the privatization process that they are going through. We feature also Connecting the Dots, a new dynamic project from the Azores that we had our very first event for this semester of the fall of 2023. And as you can see, many other. The majority of the news is either obviously about the community or about the Azores. So we have this section called Azores Connection, and that is where we funnel all of the news. At least we try to do about one every day, and sometimes two in a day, and sometimes one every other day. But to let you know that since we began here, and I'm going to go real quick, so don't want to blind you with all the different things, but to go all the way down to the beginning since we began this venture. And the reason why we began this venture was because at last year's Luso American Education Foundation conference, we discussed the Portuguese American presence in California quite extensively. We had over 50 people on different panels, actually close to 60. And we talked about some of the things that Portuguese Americans, especially younger and not so young Portuguese Americans, but those who are from Azorean background, Portuguese background, Madeiran background, and even from other Lusophone countries, but who are now second, third, and fourth generation removed from the Azores, removed from Madeira, removed from mainland Portugal. And so they do not have the connection with the language. Some of them, it was their great-grandparents who immigrants, some their great-grandparents, others their grandparents, and others even their parents, but they did not have the connection with the language. But they are proudly Azorean, proudly Madeiran, proudly Portuguese, and they want to have a connection, especially with the Azores. This was the theme throughout all of the different panels that we had of the Luso American Education Foundation. We made a call out to the various people involved to put forth something that would be a way to arrive at this necessity that was mentioned across the various panels of various generations. And unfortunately, nothing happened. So in conversations with our advisory board, with our leadership, with our administration at PBBI-Fresno State, through Bruma Publications, because we want to be more than a publishing house that publishes, and we're very happy that we were able to publish 5 books this first year. It won't happen the next 12 months, but hopefully we'll publish 3. And that is a great, we think, a great way, of course, to promote the Azorean literature, the Azorean history, and the translation of literature in general here in California and throughout the Western United States. But we also wanted to have a connection with these folks who have been reaching out to us, who reached out to us through the Luso American Education Foundation Conference, and who have been reaching out to us about the possibility of having more information from the Azores and the community in English. And so that is why on July 7th, as you can see, first remarks were published. And then on July 8th, we began our first of news series. So it's been less than 60 days. And in less than 60 days, we have actually over 70 news items or opinion pieces, mostly news items. But again, as it's mentioned on this piece right here by Tom Barcelos, as I said, a wonderful piece that I highly recommend you read, those who are interested in water issues and some of the issues that we face here in the Central San Joaquin Valley. And as I mentioned in this piece, when promoting it, obviously we are interested in op-ed pieces, as long as they are not insulting to anyone, as long as they are not obviously to denigrate on any human being of any nationality, culture, or background, or religious belief, but any op-ed piece about your community, about your organization, about your job, about your tie to the valley, we are more than happy to publish it here on Novidades Newsletter.news. That's what it's called, and it's the islands and the diaspora. So basically, you go to it, click on the item that you would like to read about. We try to always put some pictures that are related to the news item. Obviously, we have to be careful, and we are very, very careful with copyright. We acknowledge where the sources are all the time. So such as this piece right here is a long piece about Graciosa Island. It's from Lusa News Service. It was in Açoriano Oriental. The director of Açoriano Oriental is our good friend Paulo Simões, and they have given us, of course, authorization to translate a news item here and there from all of the Portuguese newspapers in the Azores, and we thank them for that commitment. And then, of course, there's a little bit of an explanation that these are translated in English as a community outreach program from Bruma Publications, from PBBI at Fresno State. It's, of course, as I said, Bruma Publications and the Modern Classical Languages and Cultures Department, MCLL, where we have a Portuguese minor, and the Azores Diaspora Media Alliance, where we try to publish some of these as well, which is an alliance of Portuguese broadcasters, Portuguese media, whether it be the press, whether it be radio or television. There are over 50 members from the United States, Canada, and Brazil, and also the Azores that are part of it. These are all efforts to bring new awareness of the Azores to the communities and vice versa. Of course, part of our mission at the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute at Fresno State. There's a bit of a explanation. There is a link to the news in Portuguese, and then we try to always put a bit of a video about, not on every single story, but once every 4 or 5 stories, if it talks about a particular island in the Azores or about a particular item of culture in Madeira, then we try to put a bit of a video that, if you with a link here to YouTube, that folks can click on, something usually not longer than 4 or 5 minutes, but sometimes if it's talking about a particular cultural piece and it's a long documentary, we'll put that on as a resource that folks can have to get more information. So we highly invite all of you to join in and to make Novidades, the islands and the diaspora, a place that you look to get news about the Azores on an ongoing basis, and news about the Portuguese American community in California, all in English. We're not here to do, of course, anything in Portuguese. Filamentos, the other site that I'll share with you in a little bit, that one has news services and information and creative writing and op-ed and, of course, poetry and many, many other things in the creative world. And those are in both languages, both Portuguese and English. So again, just sharing all the information here with you. With any news source that you click on, as you read, as you look at the pictures, as you read the information, like this one about these young Portuguese Americans, leaders in the dairy industry, you always will have plenty of pictures to associate with. And then if you go all the way down, you're more than welcome to, and we invite you to leave a comment if you wish. And there's always going to be a place for a comment, as you see there, leave a reply. And there's always a place that you can also, at the bottom, you can also subscribe. Mine doesn't have it because of being, of course, the one who runs the Novidades, the islands and the diaspora. But you will have a place where you can go ahead and subscribe. You can also put a like on it. You can share it on social media outlets. And if you subscribe by putting your name and your email, it will not be shared with anyone. I can assure you of that. And all it does is basically, anytime there's something new, you'll get a notification in your inbox with what the title of the story is, and if it interests you, you can click on it and go directly to it. Novidades, the islands and the diaspora, from Bruma Publications at the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute at Fresno State. Now, wanted to talk to you also about Filamentos, and this here is Filamentos is our as well as Novidades. So we also do have a digital publication from Novidades. We were doing it 4 times a year. We're going to be changing it to 6 times a year. So we're going to be changing it to doing it every other month. We'll have actually a digital publication, anywhere between 8 to 12 pages, that will be with news from PBBI-Fresno State, oral history collections, and news from the community, just something that we will showcase. Obviously, we don't have a lot of space, but we do have this daily blog site that we can go ahead and use for all the other items that we cannot fit into the newsletter. But Filamentos, Arts and Letters in the Azorean Diaspora, is also a digital publication. Like many other publications are now digital when it comes to literary and cultural journals in the United States, whether it be Portuguese or not. And so this one is also a digital publication, and it from that we have started this new service as well called Filamentos Artes e Letras .art. Let's try that again. Filamentos Artes e Letras or .art for art, of course. And we are also featuring almost daily either a creative piece or a piece about a cultural event, whether it be in the community or the Azores. And it is a way to supplement the Filamentos literary journal that comes out. Again, that one comes out also about every 6 weeks. We are putting it out about 7 to 8 times a year. It depends on, of course, the material that we have. And as you have seen it, and we even have a link here, that is usually a digital publication that is anywhere between 22 to 28 pages. And that's a lot for a literary publication to be done 8 times a year. We're being over ambitious, maybe not. We just want to really be focused on what we can offer the Portuguese American community throughout, of course, the state of California and the Western United States and the US and Canada in general. Filamentos Arts and Letters in the Azorean Diaspora is for all the diaspora. And it's not just about the Azores. It's about various parts of the Portuguese-speaking world. But, of course, it is focused on giving that information to the Azorean diaspora. So, as you can see, we had an event that is their story on September 3rd, which is today. We had one September 2nd, one September 1st. August 31st, we had 2 different events, one from Madeira Island and one about the International Festival of the Azores. And then we had one in Portuguese on August the 29th, a wonderful piece written by poet Álamo Oliveira called Marcolino Candeias, Poeta de Compromissos Inadiáveis. It's a wonderful piece. If you read Portuguese, I highly, highly recommend. And, of course, here is a link to our Filamentos, the 5th edition. We started it this year. We just had the 5th edition last week, and our 6th edition will be coming in the beginning of October. So you can, like anything else, you can click on it. And this one is in Portuguese, but you can see, of course, there's the reading. There's a few pictures correlating to what we're reading about. There's some of the information, and of course at the bottom some pictures as well. And as always, you can leave a reply, and you can also register to get updates from Filamentos as well. And so lots of different information. For example, the story on September 1st about Romeu Bairros, singer and songwriter, who takes the viola da terra from the island of São Miguel to the tallest point in the entire country of Portugal, which is the top of Pico Island. So a wonderful interview that was conducted in the Azores, and that we have it here in English. So Californians and Americans in general, and Canadians of Azorean ancestry, or anyone of any culture who wants to know a bit about the Azores, can, of course, read. And then there's a video there that you can listen and watch, a video, Eu Não Vou Chorar, by Romeu Bairros, a wonderful, talented young man. And you can also click on Biografia de Romeu Bairros and go to his biography, and lots of information about him in Portuguese. So lots of different things that we are offering through the Filamentos. So it's 2 different sites. They run independently of each other. They have separate purposes and separate vision and vision and missions statements, and but they are here uniquely to serve the American community, the Canadian community, anyone anywhere, also anyone in Portugal that wants to read, of course, in English or in Portuguese, because, for example, on August 20th, we have this wonderful review of Luís Filipe Sarmento's excellent book called Comédia, which I highly recommend for those of you who speak Portuguese. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. And this piece was written by poet Alberto Pereira, a wonderful poet from Portugal, whose work is being translated to English and whose first book in English will be published by Bruma Publication, and will be out here in about more or less somewhere around the end of the year or beginning of 2024. It's one of our three upcoming publications that will be either at the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. So again, that's the other site. So you can go directly to it, filamentoarteseletras.art. You can always send me an email. There's information right there that you can always do that. There, when you click on About, it tells you a little bit about Bruma Publications. It has my email right there, and it has, of course, information about California State University, Fresno through Bruma Publications, and talks a little bit about our digital publication that we do besides this service that, as I said, done we try to make it a daily basis, but with Filamentos, we're probably not going to keep up on a daily basis, but at least 3 times a week, I would say, and sometimes 4 times a week, there will be updated information. There will be either a piece that is news, or a piece that is about an event, or a creative piece, such as the one in Portuguese by Alan Oliveira right there, or or some information about the new novel coming out by Catherine Vaz that is considered irresistible and sweeping, and indeed it is, because I'm reading it and it's just blowing me away. Or we may feature someone such as we did this feature on an American and an Azorian, the magnificent writing of Daryl Casson, and from his site, and a little bit of information about him, a little bit about his books, how you can get him. So lots of different information that we try to feature on a regular basis on Filamentos. That's one of the sites. So again, Filamentos Artes e Letras d'Art, ART. And the other one is called Novidades Newsletter, altogether .news, and it's Novidades, the islands, and the diaspora. Both of these are services of PBBI, that's the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute from California State University, Fresno. It is what we do on a daily basis, besides, of course, our classes, which are full this year, and we're very, very thankful. We have 2 full classes, one on Portuguese, one language. We actually have 2 language classes, one at Fresno State, and then we have one that I teach at the College of the Sequoias. Both of them are pretty much full. Between both classes, there are about 50 students taking language. And then we have a culture class that has also very, very full, with 26 students on the history, literature, and culture of the Azores Islands. And of course, we continue with our oral history presentations. Our oral history recordings our plan is to record this semester anywhere between 10 to 15 oral histories. That's our plan. We hope to do that. We were able to achieve about 12 last semester. We then have to get these transcribed, then they have to be looked at, and then they have to go into our, of course, our oral history page at the library, where that is not only accessible to students at the library, but it is accessible to the entire community. It's going to be accessible to anyone through the Fresno State Oral History Collection at the Fresno State Library. And we're very, very happy because with the ones that are being transcribed right now, and the ones that we have on the back burner to be transcribed in the next 2 months, by the end of the year, we will have over 75 oral history recordings done, with about 45 to 50 of them transcribed and already uploaded, and another 20 or 25 in the back burner to being worked on as we do on a weekly basis, basically, at Fresno State. And of course, our conference and lecture series is going on with lots of different information. Labor Day, this coming Monday, As Nossas Vozes, is a Portuguese series that we do, webinar series that we do with Palcas and my co-moderator and friend, Elidio Pereira, from the East Coast of the United States of America. And so this will be this Labor Day at 5 o'clock Pacific time. And so there'll be 8 o'clock Easter time. And it will be about Casa dos Açores, the Nova Inglaterra, CANI, the Casa dos Açores in New England, with its president, Francisco Viveiros. So if you speak Portuguese, join us Labor Day at 5 o'clock. Lots of different events. We have an upcoming event on the 26th of September that will be live in person at Fresno State. We have other events, 2 other events that will be live in person at Fresno State for this semester. And we have about, with the Luso American Education Foundation Conference, that will be from the 27th through the 30th of September. With that conference and its multiple events that we're putting together, and then the events that we have planned, we're probably going to have anywhere between 20 to 24 different panel presentations and anywhere between 8 to 10 lectures throughout this semester. So lots of stuff on PBBI, but certainly wanted to share with you that information about Novidades and also Filamentos. Thank you all for joining us. Happy Sunday to each and every one of you. On behalf of the California State University Fresno, the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, we thank you for your support. We thank you for being part of our continuing effort to do lots of different things, but they all fall under this kind of umbrella of creating meaning so we don't fade away. Number one, of course, and mostly, of course, registering our stories, registering our history, and creating our own narrative in California's multicultural landscape. Thank you all for joining us. Happy Sunday, everyone.